what we're going to cover today, basically, we're going to do situational writing. Okay, we're going to talk about some techniques to help you amplify your facts, the information that you've been given. Okay, how you can actually make it a little bit more interesting. You know, because many of you struggle with, in my terms, right? How you can talk a lot of intelligent information. Basically, I would use a different word, but basically intelligent information, or you use whatever information that they've given to you and rephrase it or expand on it. That's basically amplifying the information given. And of course, we're going to have the proposal that you see for your pre-class notes, and then we'll be going on to oral after that. Okay, so let me just briefly give you a summary of what you already know about situational writing, right? Okay, we all know that situational writing has two parts. Okay, we have our task fulfillment as well as your language. Task fulfillment is usually out of 10. Language is out of 20. It makes a total of 30 marks for your sit writing. Okay, if those of you, as I can tell, who are in primary school, right, it's basically a double up, right? You double your score for primary 6. Right now it's out of 15. Next time you'll be out of 30. Okay, so what are we actually looking out for? Right, we're looking for clear awareness of purpose, audience, and context. Same thing as what you actually have in your primary school situational writing. Okay, you will also have it for your secondary school. Right, we're focusing on what the purpose of your writing is. Okay, who are you addressing, and what kind of context, what kind of background information do you have, and what can you connect to make it a more engaging piece of writing. That's about it. Okay, remember, we're looking out for relevant, well-structured piece of writing, okay, that is well organized, okay, full of ideas, okay, and how we can actually make use of the printout, which is why we're actually doing amplifying, right? Okay, because they give you a printout. How on earth are you supposed to imagine information from just that one printout? Okay, remember, we are going to be grading you on the essay on the whole, okay, following the levels. We're just going to be looking at the top two, right? We clearly know our purpose, audience, and context, right, with good organization and structure. Remember to cover all the points that they've asked you, right, in the bullet points with examples. And of course, make sure that you actually give personal comments, personal opinion, especially if they ask you for a proposal, what you think about something, why you think it will work, right? Okay, that's the top tier, which we're going to be aiming for, right? And remember, we need to, this one is what we're going to not do. We're going to not do this. Okay, so that I'm just going to help you aim for the top tier simply because that's what we're going to be wanting to get, right? Now, language, as I mentioned to you, is actually 20 marks. It's out of 20 marks. Okay, so what is the kind of language you're looking at? Basically the kind of tone that you use, the kind of words that we use, right? And remember, we need to make sure that whatever language we use internationally acceptable English that is accurate and appropriate. It has to be right for the context that is given. Okay, while you will be judged overall, okay, remember what we're looking out for is your vocabulary, your competence structure, how you engage. Situational writing is mainly about engaging, right? Good linkage, and of course, you develop the writing coherently. Okay, now remember that extra marks will be given for very creative approaches. If you've got ideas that supersede or that your peers do not have, right, you'll be given more points for that, obviously, right? And remember, you need to be able to show that you can adapt to the different tasks that have been given to you. Okay, we have the problem of students writing too few words, right? If it's less than 100 words, you will be given the short compositions kind of score, right? Which you'll be given less than the total mark out of 20, right? You realize that if you have the top tier, right, you get 18 to 20. If you write a short script, which is less than 100 words, you get only half the score. Right, so basically we have very accurate, coherent language, right, with occasional slips, okay, very competent, effective sentence structures, okay, accurate verbs and tenses, very engaging vocabulary to show that you understand what the task requires of you, okay, punctuation that works well, of course, minimize spelling errors, please, okay, as well as very thoroughly planned out paragraphs that shows that, you know what, my essay links, it flows. Okay, at the end of the day, our tone also matters because what kind of tone that we actually use reflects on whether we understand what the piece of writing is going to be about. Okay, we are looking at a well-written, competent, composed piece of work, right, by a capable practitioner, aka you, in the language. Okay, now, this is just to summarize what kind of situational writing you may have, right? Okay, remember, who is the audience we're looking at, right? Whether it's the principal, whether it's the parents, whether it's community leaders, sometimes you may even be asked to give speeches to your peers, right? To your classmates, etc. Right? So who is the audience you're dealing with, and what is the purpose of your situational task, right? So whether it's to communicate a message, to ask for permission, to propose an idea, to appeal or to persuade certain people to do certain things, what is the purpose? Okay, what kind of format do you have it in? You have a letter, a report, a brochure, email. Recently, we've started having blogs, right? We started having proposals, formal letter writing, not so much so at this point, but we still do have that, right? Because it's on a rotational basis, right? Okay, now structure of text, introduction, body, conclusion. Obviously, you need to have it in paragraph form. You cannot have it in point form. And remember, we need to have formal language most of the time. Even if it's an informal letter, please avoid saying, yo, you know, like, how's it going? Or some slang, right? How's it, how you do, you know, please, no such language. Keep it formal, but yet in a lighter tone. Okay, now, amplifying, the technique that we're going to be covering today. So what is amplifying, students? Okay, if you know the root word amplify means to what? Make it bigger, basically to exaggerate, right? Okay, so in the previous example that we did, okay, we actually did in terms of identifying ideas and supporting details, right? How we look out for the ideas and details from the situational piece that you've been given, the task that you've been given, and how you make do with that and write and engage at a higher level in terms of, you know, making up more stuff, in terms of how you make it a little bit more interesting with what you're writing. Okay, while they will form the main part of your speech, listing these points is not going to get you your scores. Okay, what you need to do is basically make sure that you get the points and you amplify it such that it becomes very relevant to the kind of task that you're writing, right? So make sure that the points are fully amplified to justify an opinion or interpretation of a situation. Okay, now how do we actually amplify, right? To amplify is to add additional detail and to use your own words, right? Make up stuff, right? Change certain things that they say, and then you add your own words. So take, for example, the required point in the task to include the purpose of the volunteer group. Instead of saying, okay, the purpose of the volunteer group is to garner more volunteers by banding together. Okay, so basically when you have a volunteer group, people have the same goal. People have the same mentality. They want the same thing done. Right? So you could actually say, right, okay, volunteers get to meet like-minded people from the other school. So basically when you use words like like-minded, you know that, okay, at the end of the day, you're going for same kind of idea, same kind of wanting to do something, right? When you volunteer, it's usually for a good cause, right? So like-minded people, other schools, right? All these words actually stand out. Okay, now if you justify an opinion or interpret a situation, how you actually do that, right? You need to use the information you have to adjust the task, what is the task given, and to justify an opinion. You feel that, okay, based on this task, I have this opinion, so I need to justify it. I need to give reasons for it to make sure that whatever I'm saying is valid, right? This may mean giving additional details that are not provided. Of course, where are these details going to come from? Obviously, you have to make them up yourself. Right? This could include information that you, the writer, injects into your writing to provide additional context or justification, as I mentioned to you before. Take, for instance, the required point where what participation in the program involves, okay? However, instead of simply saying as a volunteer, you need to commit for at least 2 years, okay, you can say, right, what else is required. So let's see how we can actually expand on it, okay? Although volunteers are required to commit for 2 years at the onset, means at the beginning you need to that's the minimum you need to volunteer for at least 2 years. Most of the first year is spent on training, and you will only need to participate in one project per quarter. So this perhaps can encourage or can motivate more people to volunteer when they know that, you know what, it's not 2 years volunteering, it's just 1 year of training and then 1 year of 4 different projects that I got to participate in. So it makes it a lot more appealing for people to actually want to participate. Yes? Okay, so if you know that this is going to be included, as in you know that it can be broken up, or you add additional information to make it to make more people want to join you, okay, that increases the likelihood that people will want to take up whatever you're suggesting. Right? So it's about how you engage, how you increase the potential for people to participate in whatever you're going to be suggesting, right? So look at the sample writing task, okay? So check that you've addressed the task and you've considered purpose, audience, and context. Okay, so let's have a look at this printout, okay? Long story short, what are we going to be focusing on, right? Plan your answer before you begin to write. As part of the school's efforts to encourage volunteerism, Joined forces with 3 other schools to set up the South District Student Volunteer Group, very long name, SDSVG. Number of students participating from your school is very much lower than from the others. The principal feels that this is mainly because most students do not know that the group exists or are unaware of what it does. So this is actually the problem, right? The issue over here. As you've been a volunteer since secondary 1, the principal wants you to prepare a speech to be delivered to the rest of the student body to inform them about the group. What are you supposed to include? Remember the purpose of the volunteer group, what participation in the program actually involves, okay, and who benefits from the group's activities, okay? So these are the 3 things that you need to talk about. Write a speech in clear, accurate English to inform the audience of the existence. Firstly, tell them, you know what, there's this group around. Okay, secondly, encourage them to participate. Okay, students, if you've got anything to say to me, can you please chat with me in the group chat? Okay, now look at the highlighted word. So ask yourself, okay, have the points been amplified? How can you make sure that you engage a little bit more? How can you make sure that you talk about the points, you expand on it a little bit more? Are they written in my own words? Have they been used to justify an opinion, or have they been used, or have they been sufficiently addressed? Have they sufficiently addressed the purpose of the text? Okay, so you have the purpose. Is all these information given to you sufficient to address the purpose that you've been asked to write about? Okay, now what you have actually written about basically, right, is to identify the content that is to be included. Okay, but remember students, what we're going to be doing is we're going to touch on how to expand on what information has been given to us and make it a little bit more engaging such that it ties in with the task a little bit more. Okay, now let's have a look at this web printout and practice, okay? So we have all these different tours over here. Okay, you have art in Paris, culinary adventures in Italy, and skiing in Switzerland, right? Basically 1, 2, 3. Okay, you're not exactly required. Okay, I can give you 1 minute just to read through what is on the page, okay, but this is actually not what is required of you. Okay, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be picking out which parts are amplification or which parts are invented. Okay, very interesting piece of task actually. So read through it, take about 1 minute to read through it. Okay, now let's move on. We'll go on to the task. Okay, so you received a letter from your aunt congratulating you on your good examination results. She has volunteered to sponsor you for an overseas educational trip during your long holiday break as a reward. Okay, so she sent you this particular web printout with the different holidays available, right? And asked you to choose one. So what are you supposed to do is to thank her for her offer, state clearly which trip you have chosen, explain why you have selected that particular trip instead of others. So you got to write the pros and cons, okay, and explain what one has as an advantage over the others, right? And say how the trip might benefit you. Okay, now write your email, okay, very simple, write in clear, accurate English in a warm, friendly tone, showing your appreciation for your aunt's kindness and her interest in how you'll be spending your holidays. So basically she cares about you, right? Okay, and then you need to thank her and express what you want to do during the holidays, right? Now we read the sample essay, okay, about in a response to that particular situational task, okay? We will use A or I in our answers to demonstrate what kind of information the author has amplified or what kind of information the author has invented. Okay, remember invented means that we don't know anything about it. Amplified means that we just touched on the point and made it a little bit, we've expanded on it basically. Okay, now let's have a go. I would ideally like you to participate, but okay, shall I get students to participate? Okay, very good. Now, first question, dear Aunt Emma, right? So do you, okay, let me give you an example, okay? I'll give you the example for the first three, and then we'll be able to take it off from there, okay? Dear Aunt Emma, basically, we all don't know her name. So this is basically invented, right? When we invent something, we make things up, right? Firstly, thank you so much for this incredible surprise, okay? You know that she has actually offered something to you. So it's not exactly invented, it's basically amplified. It's something for you, but we just highlighted it was an incredible surprise. I'm really overwhelmed by your generous offer. So she has offered you something, you express your emotion about it, really overwhelmed by a generous offer. It's an amplification, right? It's not something you invented. Okay, and yes, I'm ecstatic about the good grade. It's been a weight off my shoulders and mom's, of course, as you can imagine. Okay, so anybody wants to try for question 4, is it amplified or invented? Okay, Sharon, very good. Yes?
Miss Indra, I think it is more of an amplification because the word ecstatic is like excited. I'm really happy about the good grades.
Okay, very good. So you're saying it is an amplification. Okay, I would say that yes, here is an amplification, but this part here is actually invented because there's no mention about mom, right? So there's no right or wrong answer as long as you can justify it, right? You can say that it is amplified or invented, depending on how you look at it. Okay, now question 5. When I first received a letter, I must admit that I had a few sleepless nights just wondering about which trip to go on since the options are all so tempting. So when you have this, it is basically what? When you receive the letter, we know that it's a fact. But when you tap on this, basically it becomes an amplification of it. Right? Okay. Thank you, Doreen. I'm sorry. The next one, I'll let you try. Okay. So when you tap on something and when you expand on it, it's an amplification, right? A point that you know that you can actually expand on. Okay. Reflecting on the season of my life. Wait, hang on. Did I miss something out? Okay. However, when I spend more time reflecting on the season of my life and how this will possibly be my last long break before I plunge into the challenging life of a tertiary student, the answer became clear to me. So for question 6, do you think it's an invented or amplified? Doreen?
I think it's invented because in the question they didn't state that this student is a tertiary student, so
Very good. Okay, that's true. Okay, that's right. Okay, invented simply because number 1, they didn't say that she's a tertiary student. Number 2, she's like drama, right? Like saying that, okay, you know what? I got to decide what I'm going to do my life after this, right? So it's basically an invention. Okay, this is how you engage. You come up with things that you know roughly about, but you expand on it. So this is how you get your marks for engaging. Okay, now I would like to go for the art in Paris trip. So this is very clearly what amplification, right? Because you've already know, and then therefore you're tapping on it. I would like to go for this. Okay, I had initially been most tempted by the Italian culinary trip, right? Okay, so 8. Obviously, anybody wants to try? Shamin? Wait, hang on. Let me. Okay. Yes, Shamin? 8.
It is inventive because there was no mention in the previous part that they said that she wanted to go to the Italian culinary trip.
Okay, that is correct in a way. I agree with you that amplificate. You said invented, right? Sorry,
Yeah.
invented. Okay, invented is true to some extent. Okay, but when you check your situational writing, right, the one that has been given to you, you notice that. Wait, let me go back. You notice that there is an art in Paris, and there's a culinary adventures in Italy, right? So because it is given to us, it is actually amplified because we tap on what we know, and then we sort of make it a story. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so in this case, I don't deny that your train of thought is correct. Yes, okay, but I think to be more accurate, right, it is actually amplified because she uses the word most tempted. So we know that this is something that she knows about and she wants to write a little bit more emotion that she feels about it, basically.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Okay? As you know how much I enjoy cooking, and it will be amazing to interact with actual chefs. So anybody wants to try for me? Question 9, do you think it's invented or amplified? Anybody? Okay, if you're not sure, it's okay. We all know that basically they never say, right, that she enjoys cooking, so it's invented. Okay, this is something that she puts herself in. She makes up the story to make it a little bit more interesting, right? So basically, it's an invention. Okay, however, to me, cooking is just a hobby and not something I would pursue as a career. Obviously, there's no talk of career over here, so invented as well. Okay, now, the ski trip also seemed very exciting and it would certainly have challenged me. So basically, we know that there is going to be a ski trip. So the moment we know something, it becomes an amplification, right? But I think spending a full 8 days at a ski resort might kill me, given that I'm not the fittest person. Might kill me given that I'm not the fittest person around, right? So, but I think so this is what we know, amplified. Okay, kill me, given that I'm not the fittest person around. Basically, this is an invention because it doesn't say how fit I am, right? But you're linking it to something you could possibly talk about, which is why we say it's an invention. Okay, now I think things are starting to make a little bit more sense, right? You know when it's an amplification, when it's something that you've been given and it's something that you've made up. So easy, right? Okay, now in contrast, the trip to Paris seems like godsend because you know that there's a trip to Paris, amplification, mainly because I'm facing a real dilemma in terms of my choice of study at the tertiary level. This one, clearly you never knew about, invention. Right, now it's easier to tell. It's very clear cut already, right? Once you're given a piece of information, amplify. Not given, invent. That's it. Correct, not? Okay? Now, part of me wants to take up a science course in a junior college, chiefly because I do enjoy learning science, right? So obviously this is something invented. They did not mention anything about this, right? And also because it seems like the safest choice. However, another part of me is keen to take up a fine arts course at the LaSalle Art School, invented again. Okay, you are not told anything about your background, you're not told anything about your interests, you're not told anything about your strengths, so you invent it up. Okay, however, it seems like such a radical choice to make, and of course, my parents are a bit worried about that route, right? So basically, invention, you're talking a little bit more about yourself, you want to engage a little bit more, you want to share with your aunt a little bit more, right? Because you have to update her on your choice, that's the requirement, right? I truly believe that this trip to Paris will help me understand what it means to be an artist, and perhaps that will help me make a better decision when applying for my tertiary course. So basically, this is something, you know that there's a trip to Paris, but how it's linked to whatever situation you are facing is actually invented. Okay, now, so thank you once again, Aunt Emma, basically amplification, right? Your offer could not have come at a more opportune time, amplification. Right, now I think we're all getting the hang of it, I hope. I've spoken to Mom about my choice and she's fully supportive as well. Okay, for this one, we have inventive, right? We don't know whether or not she is, but you've mentioned that she is. I do hope I have a chance to catch up with you before I go on a trip, right? Invented. When are you next coming to Singapore? Obviously invented because you engage. The moment you engage at a personal level, it's all invented because they wouldn't mention any of this in the situational task, logically, right? Okay, and of course, I hope to see you soon, invented. In the meantime, take care of yourself and say hello to Uncle Ben for me. Obviously, invented, you wouldn't know that there's an Uncle Ben, right? And when you sign off at the bottom, love, invented. Okay, all okay so far? All can understand what the difference is between invented and amplified. Thumbs up if you're okay. All must put a thumbs up. It's compulsory. It's not invented, it's amplified. Very good. Okay, good job, people. All right, now, these are the answers. Okay, just a rough gauge of answers because as I mentioned to you, it depends on how you justify your answer. If you see a certain way, it can be accepted. If not, it can also be accepted about the other train of thought. Okay, now, let me think. Do you need a break now? Because I want to go through the situational writing with you. Okay, I tell you what. Why don't we do the break later? And I will go through the situational writing first. We'll do the break later, and then we can come back to oral after that. Okay, now we'll go through what you've actually done for your pre-class notes, right? If you had a look at it. Okay, let me just briefly go through. As part of the group campaigning for Earth Hour, you've been tasked with giving a speech to your fellow students to convince them of the need to do their part for the environment. Okay, your school has also decided to support the movement by setting all air-conditioned places in the school. Wow, so shocked. I want to go to an optimum 25 degrees Celsius, right? The school has also replaced most of the lights in the school to energy-efficient LED lights. Okay, in your speech, include what your school has already done to support the movement, the steps students can take to make a difference, and why they should change their habits. Okay, so it's a speech. Firstly, we need to remember, make sure it's an informative and persuasive speech, right, in that kind of tone to convince your audience that it's time to change. Okay, now this is what we've been given. Okay, we all know the pros and the cons, right? It's all over here. Reduce usage of plastic bags, a certain number. Okay, households account for electricity consumed. Okay, do you also know how much of waste is being used or produced rather? How much can you save? What can you be done about the transport sector? Okay, take fewer shorter showers. I need to remember this, note to self. Okay, 45 liters of water is used in a 5-minute shower. How about if you turn the shower to like the smallest quantity that can be shot up? Okay, but anyway, okay, so this is basically the information that's been given to us. Okay, so let's look at the pointers again. What your school has already done to support the movement, steps students can take to make a difference, and what they should do to change their habits. Okay, so how do we start? Obviously, it's a speech, right? Good afternoon, Principal Anil, esteemed teachers, and fellow students. Okay, so you obviously have to greet the teacher, right? Remember, I'll greet the principal and the teachers as well, right? Did you know that each one of you generates, okay, let me change the color. It's not so bright, sorry. Okay, do you know that each one of you generates 1,370 kilograms of waste every year? Okay, explain to me, or rather think about the question. If you would like to explain and share with me, that would be good. Okay, explain to me why we start with a rhetorical question. This is a rhetorical question. I'm not expecting you to answer and say, yes, I know, or no, I don't know. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so a rhetorical question helps you to what? It's very dramatic, right? It hooks the audience. It captures your attention. Oh my goodness. I generate 1,370. I'm like, what's my weight? Divide by that. How many times of it, right? If you think about it. Okay? So it's basically to stun you, to make you listen, to make you sit up, basically, right? Okay? Have you thought about where all that goes to and what happens to the waste? Waste contributes to greenhouse gases that will in turn add to global warming and change the climate. So basically this is how you explain it, right? You tell me what happens to it, right? How it contributes and how it changes things, right? This all affects the earth and the natural way of things. Okay, this is how you start. Okay, now next paragraph, allowed to continue. Of course, this is a matter of speech. Basically, you don't actually, when you talk to people, you don't say allowed to continue. Of course, when in speech you will say that, right? Allowed to continue. Climate change will lead to rising sea levels that can cause many natural disasters like typhoons and hurricanes. Global warming also affects the availability of water and the increased number of heat waves and fires. So basically, the effect of global warming, right? Okay, in time we may not have an earth that can sustain life. So you're telling me that because all these things are happening, the result is we may not have an earth at the end of the day. Okay, now which is why we all need to do something now, even if it is something small. So your call to action, basically this is what your call to action. Right? Our school has already taken the first step. So you're telling me what your school has done, right? With immediate effect, all air-conditioned places in the school will be set to 25 degrees Celsius. That's it, okay? So first thing done, 25 degrees Celsius for all air-conditioned places. The optimum temperature to conserve energy, you're explaining why you say 25, right? Actually, I think it's 24 and above, right? By the end of the month, all the lights will be replaced with energy-efficient LED lights. Thank you, Principal Tan, for setting the example. Sorry, there's a typo. Thank you, Principal Anil. Right, okay, for setting the example and paving the way. I'll change it later. Okay, thank you, Principal Anil, for setting the example and paving the way. But you should not just rely on the school to do something. There are many ways that you as an individual can play a part, and it is not difficult either. So when you are telling me just now was what the school has done. Okay, over here now is what the student can do at your end. Your role to play. Right, this evening when you go home, take a shorter shower, yeah, right. In 5 minutes, a person uses, so you're implementing what you know or the information given to you in the situational piece, right, okay? And you're putting it in, right? A person uses 45 liters of water, so there's at least 9 liters a minute. That's a lot, actually. If you just cut your shower time by 1 minute every day, think how much you can save in a month. So 1 minute times 30, that's like what, 9 times 30, that's 270 liters of water. Well, that's a lot of water. Okay, you can save a lot. So basically, that's a call to action. Okay, you're calling the students to act. Okay, now you can also get your family involved. So now you're moving beyond the role of a student, right? You can also get your family involved. I'm sure you use plastic bags at home. If your household uses just one less plastic bag a week, we could save 40 million in a year. Wow, that's a lot actually, right? If you think about it. Plastic bags are not biodegradable, and when they decompose, they release greenhouse gases, which, as I mentioned before, contribute to global warming and climate change. Start now. Every little effort you make impacts on the big picture. Thank you. So basically, this is what? Telling you another call to action. Right, students? So this is actually how you can end off and impactful. Simple, right? When you use short sentences, it captures the attention a lot more, right? Okay, that call to action is a lot more urgent, right? You can hear the urgency in that, right? So start now. Every little effort you make impacts on the big picture, which is, of course, the world in general. And then obviously when you end off a speech, thank you, right? Never ever forget to thank. Okay, students, so this is basically how you can do the situational writing piece, a sample of what you can actually expect to see for. This will actually go for 23, 24, pretty high grade actually. Okay, now we can all take that 3-minute break, let me go to that. Yes, okay, we can all take that 3-minute break now. Okay, and then when we come back, we can go through our oral. Okay, so now it's 6:33. Can we come back at 6:36? Okay, I'll see you soon. Okay, so let's focus on our oral now, right? Okay, reading aloud first. Okay, can I get volunteers to read aloud for me? Oh, very good. Okay, Charmaine, let me see how many paragraphs we need first, okay? Okay, so we'll go by the colors. All right, students, I have 5, I think. 1, the white, the orange, the teal is what you'll call it, right? Yellow and white again. So, okay, we have 5. Okay, I need 5 students. So, Charmaine. Okay, anyone else wants to read for me? Sharon? Doreen? Hey, why all girls, ah? Boys very shy, ah? Okay, let me see. Anyone else want to volunteer? Okay, okay, Sanjay. Only because your video was turned on. So because of that, you need to help me out. Thank you. And let's have a boy, John Paul. The short one. Okay, are we ready? Yeah. Okay, so let me read the context. So your teacher wants to encourage the students in your class to learn a new practical skill. You're a member of a cookery club and she has asked you to describe to the class how you became interested in cooking. Okay, so this is what you say. It's like basically a speech to the class. Right? Now, Charmaine, hang on, sweetheart. Let me unmute you 1 second. Okay, let's go.
I am going to talk to you today about how I got into cooking. It all happened one day when I went on a family visit to my grandparents. My grandmother is an accomplished cook who loves watching cookery programs on TV, and I got into the habit of watching them with her. She even taught me to cook some simple dishes as well as some more complicated recipes.
Thank you, dear. Very good job. Okay, so let me just go through what we can improve on. Okay, what I liked about it is that you're very confident. Your pace is very good. Okay, you were not rushing for anything, and you were very clear, which is great. Okay, as a female, it is easier for us. Not that I'm being sexist or whatever. No. Okay, but it's a fact that we our voices, especially if it's not breaking, right? Because when it comes to puberty, our voices will break, and the boys will find it a struggle to like read certain pictures and stuff like that, right? But for as females, we have the advantage, okay? So let's use it to our advantage, right? Okay. Now, over here, you realize that it's a contraction. So when it's a contraction, we need to hear the words being contracted, okay? So if you were to read I am, not that it's wrong, okay? But it's not the optimum, right? So in this case, I need to hear the contraction very clearly.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about, and I think just now, because there was a slight misreading over here, it's actually holiday, but I think we read it as day. So just be careful. Okay, so not that there's anything seriously wrong in misreading a word, okay, but it reflects that we are not as prepared as we could be. So just take note of things like that. Okay. Now, what I liked about it was that your accomplished, your D was very, very clearly pronounced, which is great. Okay, we need to emphasize on our last syllables, right? But when we read accomplished, right, you can hear clearly the D, but try not to like overemphasize. Okay, you will still fine, right? But sometimes if you're a bit excited, right, it may go overboard. So to avoid that, right, maybe we can just reduce the overemphasis on the D a bit. Can?
Okay, can.
Okay, and I really like how you read the loves. You exaggerated it so well, right? Who loves washing cookery, but that's how we should do it. Okay, so when I say intonation, when I say how you demonstrate, or as in you express yourself in your reading, right, this is a very good example. Okay, students, we should put literally, when you say love it, like if you want to tell somebody, I love chicken rice, you don't just say I love chicken rice. How is your love shown? Doesn't show, right? So you need to sort of exaggerate it a little bit, right? I love chicken rice. Okay, so you have to make sure that you put your emotion in it. Okay, so generally quite a good job. Okay, well done. Keep it up. Okay, Shemaine?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Sharon? Where are you? Okay, very good. I need to unmute you. I can't unmute.
Back at home, I continued to take an interest in cooking, which was when I first started preparing meals for my family and friends. It's just such a rewarding thing to do. I recently read a blog in which a renowned chef explained why everyone should learn to cook. He said, when
Okay.
you go
No.
to a restaurant,
It's okay. Thank you, dear. No, I actually wanted to break it up because it was a different color. Thank you. Okay. So energy was great. Level of enthusiasm was great. Pace was also very good. Okay. I think you were just very happy reading it. I can hear. I thought you sounded very happy actually. Something to take note of. I think you were hesitant at a certain point over here. It's just such a rewarding thing to do, right? I'm not sure whether you intentionally hesitated, okay, because I had a pause over there, but it could also reflect that, you were pondering over the words. So, for example, back at home, I continued to take an interest in cooking, which is when I first started preparing meals for my family and friends. It's just such a rewarding thing to do. It could also actually reflect that you were thinking about the experience and you were thinking, you know what, it's actually a good experience. That's why I'm sort of hesitating a little bit to create the emphasis, right? So just be careful, because when you want to hesitate, it's actually okay. But in the process, just do not lose your confidence, because if you lose your confidence, it could mean that I actually didn't mean to hesitate. So it was an unintentional one. So that could shake it up a bit. Okay, so let's move on now. Doreen. Okay.
When you go to a restaurant, you don't exactly wait. Can we start?
Sure.
When you go to a restaurant, you don't know exactly what's going into the meal you're eating. Did they use palm oil or coconut oil to cook the meal? Is there added sugar in the sauce? How much salt is in that soup? Cooking at home eliminates the guesswork and ensures that you know exactly what you are eating.
Thank you, dear. Okay, all of you, I realize that the girls in general, right, you have got very pleasant, clear voices, which is great. Okay, but some things that you want to take note of, right, as I mentioned earlier, right, are the contractions. Okay, so you're eating, right, when we contract it, okay, we try to make sure that it's as clear as possible. Okay, and remember, like all these rhetorical questions, right, did they use palm oil or coconut oil to cook the meal? Or to cook the meat, sorry. Okay, is there added sugar in the sauce? How much salt is in that? How much salt is in that soup? Right? Okay, all these words actually test your SASO, consonants, right? To make sure that you don't have the SH sound over there, because sometimes students, in their haste, they're very eager to read, they're very enthusiastic, right? They will go, how much salt is in that soup? So it becomes like you can hear the SH, but it's actually there's no SH, right? How much salt is in that soup? So all these words are actually tricky. It's like if you were to say a tongue twister, this would probably be in it, right? Because then when you're saying it fast, all sorts of funny sounds come out. Okay, so just take note of this, especially when you have a question mark as well. If it's not really a question with the intention of being answered, right, you can actually say it as, how much salt is in that soup? Basically, right, it's like a question but a statement. So it's not meant to be answered, basically. Okay, now someone said that Sanjay. So, okay, what is your real name? Oh, Sharon, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm sorry. Sharon, for the record, is male, but I had heard the tone of the voice wrongly, and I apologize. I'm sorry. Okay. Sanjay is actually someone else, but okay. So the student who is taking on Sanjay's persona, I know it's your sister or something. Shall we try reading? Uh, Hang on. Okay, Yajimi, is it? Okay, wait. So where's her name? Hang on, I can't find it. Eh? I don't see it. Okay. Mary, would you like to read? I see that you would like to read.
Like most teenagers, I experience the usual stress with schoolwork, friendship, and so on. And it's sometimes hard to balance my time in kitchen with homework and with other responsibilities that I have. But I make use of the school holidays to work on my cooking skills and to prepare for the cookery competitions I now take part in throughout the year. I've even won prizes for some of my own original recipes. I take my cooking very seriously and am always looking for new ideas.
Okay, thank you, sweetheart. Okay, so what I really like about Mary's reading is that she's very clear. Okay, each word is very properly pronounced. But with that being said, okay, because each word is, you can hear the distinction of each word, right? What happens is that it becomes not a paragraph, but it comes like individual words in itself, and sentences are not really sentences. Okay, so well, I know that you're trying to be very accurate, Mary. Okay, it's a good thing that we're trying to be very accurate in how we read. Okay, but we try to make sure that our sentences sound like sentences, so it's like connected to each other. Okay, I think this was perhaps lost along the way when you were trying to make sure that what you're reading is actually perfect. I understand completely, okay, because I mean we've all been there, right? So how do we actually try to mash sentences up together is when we read the passage, we become familiar with the words that happen before and after each other. Right? So, for example, like most teenagers, you realize it's a phrase, so we can sort of like join it together, right? I experience the usual stresses with schoolwork, friendships, and so on. And it's sometimes hard to balance, right? This word is actually balance, okay? My time in the kitchen with homework and with other responsibilities that I have. Okay, sweetheart, I need to mute you. Okay, so this is how we should actually read it, right? We sort of join the words together, not completely, but make sure that they sound that they're connected, right? But I make use of the school holidays to work on my cooking skills and to prepare for the cookery competitions I now take part in throughout the year. So some sentences, as I mentioned to you before, right, may be long. Okay, so how we break it up is either we insert pauses or if we cannot find places to put the pauses, we slow down. Slowing down allows us to sort of feel like breathing moments in between, because at least, we can catch our breath here and there, right? I've even won prizes for some of my own original recipes. I take my cooking very seriously and I'm always for looking for new ideas. So something that you can actually connect your reading with. Okay, Sanjay, I'm sorry, I couldn't spot you. So Sanjay, whoever you are, right? I'm sorry. Okay, and Yajni, I'm trying to find Yajni actually. Oh, okay, I see you now. Okay, maybe later, all right? Okay, now for the last paragraph, John Paul. Okay, John Paul, you want to try? I can't unmute you for some reason. Okay, John Paul.
So if you're thinking of learning to cook, do you don't have to join a cookery club. Just get into the kitchen and start experimenting.
Thank you, dear. Okay, I got tricked. That's obviously not a John or a Paul. I just got tricked by all your names. Okay, students, please, as much as possible, try to put the names that your own name so I can call you correctly and not call someone, you know, who is not you. Okay, so rename yourselves, okay, at the start of the lesson, all right? Now, so what she's very, I was actually quite distracted with her tone of voice for the first couple of words, but I think generally she was actually okay. It's a short paragraph anyway, right? So if you're thinking of learning to cook, remember the contraction again. You don't have to join a cookery club, just get into the kitchen and start experimenting, right? Okay, the key word over here is experimenting with an exclamation mark. Sound enthusiastic. This is an emphasis on how you end off, right? We don't actually just slow down, but just get into the kitchen and start experimenting, right? We make sure that we sound very excited about it. Okay, students, now this is for your reading aloud. Okay, we have a spoken interaction. Whee! Ultimate frisbee. Oh my gosh, it's been so long. I miss having PE, don't you? Okay, now what do you think is happening in the picture? Okay, if you want to share your thoughts, okay, just share with me in the chat first, okay? Let me finish this up first, okay? What are some of your hobbies? And all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. What are your thoughts? Okay, so basically some questions that you may face during your oral examination, okay? Whether it is at your level or O levels, but basically these are the type of questions that you will face. Okay, students, so for your oral, actually, we follow the peel format, right? Your point, explain, elaborate by giving an example, and of course, you have your link to the main question. So what do you think is happening in the picture, right? I gave my own point of view, right? A group of people, specifically students, it looks like students look like they're in the middle of a frisbee game. Obviously, you have to note who is doing it and what they're doing, right? So you have the who and you have the what. Please don't give me the 5 W's, 1 H, okay? It's not writing an essay at this point. Okay, then you explain a little bit about it, right? So it looks like a lot of fun. I've never played frisbee before, but if I had the chance to, I would love to play the game. So you're explaining what you actually see and what you think about what is going on. Right? During physical education lessons, we tend to play either captain's ball or train for a NAPFA test, right? I know many students are complaining, every day is just NAPFA, NAPFA, NAPFA. Now you go back and don't know whether there's NAPFA, so train for what? Right? Given a choice, I would like to learn how to play more games, okay? So you sort of like link back to the main question. It has been a while since we had fun PE lessons, given that we had COVID-19 and now we are on holiday. It is true, right? I mean, you haven't had school for what, 5 weeks? 4 weeks actually, right? I cannot wait to go back to play games with my classmates again. Okay, so you're explaining how you feel about what the current situation or what the picture is about. All right, now, what are some of your hobbies? Okay, so you're just expressing, this is basically expressing, right? Okay, so I'm quite an active person, okay, so this is about me, okay? And so my hobbies include sports like netball, tennis, and going to the gym, right? Okay, so I enjoy doing these activities, so these are my hobbies, even though I think right now, I currently enjoy working more than I do all these things because no time now. I mean, so we say, right? Okay, I used to have more time for my hobbies before I entered secondary school, which is true, right? I mean, as we all grow older, you know, other things take up the bulk of our time. It seems that completing homework and revision for secondary school takes up the bulk of my time. Okay, then you give an explanation, or rather you give something that, you know, you can share an example about, right? I started rock climbing recently. Actually, I have, right? And that's a hobby that I would like to pursue when I'm given the chance to. So it's actually quite fun to climb the walls. You know, I understand why Spider-Man likes to do what he does. Okay, what I like about it is that it challenges me to perform contorted activities in my body. So it's actually quite fun because, you see, rock climbing is all about strength, and I mean, it's not so much of strength, but it's about technique, right? So if you don't have the strength, obviously, if you look at me, I'm not very bulky, so I have to use a lot of funny techniques, and if you can get your body in a position that is right, you know, to be able to move from one a rock to the other, it will be very useful for you, right? So that's why I say contorted activities, because sometimes I find my body in weird positions I never thought could be possible. Okay, and sorry, I perform contorted activities with my body, and I learn how to use my flexibility to my advantage, right? So if I'm flexible, it's easier for you. You can just like leap off and jump, so it's a lot easier actually. So that's something I actually enjoy, and I miss it terribly because I can't do anything now, right? I just stay at home and climb my wall at home. Okay, I cannot wait to start doing some sports again. These hobbies of mine aren't hobbies if I'm unable to perform them, simply put. So this is how you round off what you're actually saying. Okay, students, and the last one, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So what are your thoughts, right? Again, the Peel format, right? I agree with this statement. Very simply put, clean, concise, answers the question, right? I feel like the dullest person now, as it is COVID-19 and I'm stuck at home with nothing to do but homework and watch shows or play my tablet. This is not me as a teacher, okay? This is me as a student now, okay? Because I got to do homework, right? Not household, but homework. Okay, then of course you explain it a little bit, right? Given like examples, right? Even though I know that studying should be done daily, I cannot help but feel that the quality of life has decreased, right? FE has decreased. I want to do activities, watch movies, go to do sports, basically. At the end of the day, it's true, isn't it, students, right? Like if you are stuck at home, you can't do anything. Most of you are either trying to study, okay? And I say trying because there is a limit to how much you can say at the screen, because mainly it's either textbooks or screen right now, right? Okay, there's no activity you can do. You can only watch Netflix. You can only watch a Korean drama. You can only talk to your siblings, parents so much. You're basically confined at home, right? But we're all making the best we can with what that is going on. We're all trying to do the best that we can do, right? So it is true that quality of life has decreased. If you can't go out to like do team sports, you can do individual sports, right? Okay, if you stand within 1 meter from each other and go exercise alone, you can do that. But generally, I think quality of life has decreased, right? You can't go to watch movies, can't go to eat, can't go to watch plays, can't go to rock climb. Life's not fun right now. Okay, so basically this is what it is, right? I want to do activities, watch movies, go to do sports. These are the things that make you feel dull. Not that you're dull, but make you feel dull because you can't do any of these activities, right? We need a good balance of work and play for the best quality of life. Right now, when we're all staying at home, there is no life. So your main opinion, your main stand is that you need to have both fun and play, fun and work, right? Okay. But in this case, because you're stuck at home, you can't do anything. So of course, students, this is tailored to the situation now. Okay, when it is your exam time, you can answer it according to the context that you are in then. But I would strongly encourage you to put yourself in the example that you're given, so it's easier for you to connect with the question, right? No need to make anything up. You realize that at least I didn't make anything up because whatever that I feel, whatever that I've gone through, I'll put it down in the question. It fills up the structure of the answering the question, the format, right? As well as it makes perfect sense and it's in good English. Right? Okay, so this is what we're aiming for our oral. Remember, the 30 marks, you need to make sure you take it at least 28. Take 28 marks and put it in your pocket. This is where you can score. Okay, students? So with that, all right, I've actually come to the end of my lesson for today. Okay, before that, let me just share someone shared this with me today, okay, and I thought it was very meaningful. Okay, so you're not able to skip chapters. That's not how life works. Okay, we can't pick and choose what we want to happen in our lives, right? You have to read every word you write. You may not enjoy all of it. Basically, what you experience, right? You may not enjoy it all completely. But there will always be moments when you don't know when the page ends, right? You don't know when things are going to end. Like for us now, we're in a situation that we don't know when is it going to end, right? We don't know whether we'll be able to go back to school, when June 2nd comes about, right? We don't know whether what's going to come up for our O levels, our end of year examinations. It's all a blank page, right? But remember, students, okay, that's not a reason for us to stop what we are doing right now. That's not a reason for us to give up. Make sure that we keep going, live your life. It's to some of us, okay, me included, I think that I've wasted 6 months. But okay, make sure that at the end of the day, we just keep going, keep improving, and keep being happy. I think that's the most important thing that I want to tell you today. Okay, so with that being said, I hope that you've actually learned something. I'm pretty sure that you've learned. Okay, tell me that you have. Okay, feel the love. Okay, I'm sure that you've learned something from my lessons. Okay, I'll see you guys next week. We'll still do a little bit more on oral because I want to hear you guys speak. I think at this time when you're not going to school, we need to engage with each other, or rather, you need to hear me speak because I'm not speaking very much. Okay, but no, okay, I want to hear you speak more. Okay, I want you to think about how you can answer questions because this is something that you can score in. Okay, so until I see you next week, students, take care, stay safe, and have fun. Mwah! Bye!